The Steve Marston Show continues. Discipleship has never been more fun. Welcome back. It's always good to have this guy on the program because he just brings a spark. He brings that energy. He brings that life. His name is Jason Curry. He's the author of an incredible book called Finish Empty. If you don't have a copy of this book, I highly encourage you to go to finishempty.com. Get you a copy of it, and then follow him on social media. He's a great follow, especially on X. If you hang out there, he just does a fantastic job. Jason, man, welcome back. It's good to have you.
Man, I appreciate being here, and thank you for the intro, Steve. That made my day right there.
Well, you're welcome. I assume the check's in the mail, so.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
right.
right.
All right. Well, as long as it'll clear, we'll be good.
That's right. Man, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. So glad to be here.
Now, as we're taping this, you're always on social media putting out, I just think, incredibly good content. And as we're taping this, it was just a couple of hours ago, you titled a post that said, "The battle for excellence is fought in your calendar." Now, I'll just be honest with you, myself included, I think most people think our calendar, man, that's our taskmaster. That's not something we want to find excellent in. That's the thing that just drives us crazy because we've got to run from one place to the next. How do we find excellence, and how do we make sure it's found there?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really simple but not easy answer. I think most people look at their day and think, what do I have to do? And that's driven by responsibility, and those are good things. They're not negative things, and responsibilities obviously help us pay the bills and things like that. But then there's this word priority, and those are things that we need to do that most of the time people aren't making us do, and that's usually really the separator in life. Like, no one's making you have your quiet time. No one's making you have date night with your spouse. No one's making you rest. No one's making you read. No one's making you go to Bible study. And so the things that really, really, really lead us to live with excellence, most of the time are not requirements. And so if we just do what everybody else is doing, then we kind of end up like everybody else. And there's a wonderful verse in Ephesians 5, 15 and 17. Paul challenged the church at Ephesus to pay attention to how they walk, not as unwise, but as wise. And then he says, making the most of the time. And so I really don't think that we're going to drift to a life that's impactful or drift to a life where we're in a deeper walk with Christ. We need to schedule those things. We need to guard those things and kind of push back best we can. I mean, I'm saying this with grace. I'm not saying it mean. Push back best we can to the urgent things that scream they're important, but they're not. They're just urgent.
You know, I actually saw on social media from Bobby Bones, of all people, you know, the radio guy, the country music big DJ guy. He said that he was talking along these same lines. He was saying how when he and his wife were first starting dating, he would actually put in the phone and schedule time. And it was something that she looked at as a negative, like, well, he's got to schedule a time to go.
Yeah.
You know, whereas in his mind, it was totally different. This was important. This was a priority. So I'm putting you in my phone, which you gotta be really, you know, well communicating in that as well. But I just thought that was fascinating that, people do that where it's sure you're putting it in your phone, not as a negative, but as a positive.
Yeah, I think sometimes we think if it's on our calendar, it's automatically a have to. Mm-hmm. Instead of when we start scheduling things that are get tos and want tos and need tos. And so I think that's maybe just a perspective on it and a conversation where you go, no, I want to put this in first and then guard it. I will say this, for the last 10, 15 years, Courtney and I, my wife, have always gone on a trip away together, just the two of us, once a year. And we just kind of set that out as a priority. And that always went on my schedule first. And if someone tried to book me, it would say private event. And I'm just saying, hey, I'm not available. And so there's been times, Steve, where you really have to make a decision. When someone will call and maybe it's impactful or maybe something that is rewarding financially, and you have to decide in that moment, hey, this really matters most. And I schedule everything. Like if I'm going to watch a baseball game, if I want to take a nap, I try to get to a point where I go, hey, I want to guard what really matters. And I want to look at my calendar and see things that I'm looking forward to. And date night with your spouse is definitely one of those things.
Absolutely. Jason Curry is our guest here on the Steve Marston Show. He is the author of a book called Finish Empty, and we're talking about the need for having your calendar in good shape because it does set priorities. Yeah. And really what we're talking about overall is guarding of our hearts and guarding of the things that are important, because that's all over Scripture too, man, is making sure we guard what's important. Because I loved what you said just a few minutes ago, and that is we're not going to drift in to a closer walk with Jesus. It's got to be something that we're intentional about and maybe even put it into our calendars.
Yeah, the second part of that passage in Ephesians, Paul says, pay careful attention to how you walk, not as unwise but wise, making the most of the time. And then he says this, because the days are evil. And there's a lot of different ways that you can read that, but the application of it is simplistic. I want to invest my time in what matters and what lasts and what aligns biblically. And many times when you look back over your life, the major stumble, the major fall, the major moment of sin in your life, it was a slow fade or drift to that. And so Satan many times, if he can't just out of the gate make us completely and totally rebellious, he'll just make us busy or distracted. And all of a sudden it's been 2 weeks since I've had my quiet time, 2 weeks since I've been to small group, 3 weeks since I've been to church, and my defense is down now, and I don't see it, and I'm much more susceptible to relationship conflict, to feeding lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, or pride of life. And so when you schedule in those times to grow, I believe someone online will correct me. I think it was Henry Blackaby that said, you're as deep in your walk with Christ as you want to be. He's not holding out on you.
Yeah.
And so when we schedule that time to learn, to grow, to get better, oh man, everything begins to change. And so don't think of it as such a rigid thing. Think of it as, I want to do this. And so I want to guard against things that don't matter.
See, I think that's so important in just all areas of our faith. Tell me what you think about this, that our faith is such a mindset, that it's so much in between our ears that it really, we don't really realize it. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think sometimes, especially for church people, you start with, hey, I don't have to earn the love of God. But that doesn't mean that obedience doesn't matter, or growth doesn't matter, or holiness doesn't matter, or becoming more like Jesus doesn't matter. But when we're doing those things, we're not working to convince God to love us.
Right.
We're obeying because we're loved. We're growing because we're loved. We're pursuing him because he first pursued us. And so that changes the way I approach, hey, I want to do these things. I want to schedule these things. I want to be a workman approved. I want to be a grown-up, mature in my faith. I don't want to be a milk drinker my whole life. I want to be able to grow into who God's called me to be. But it's not so that God will love me. It's because he loves me. And grace changes that, Steve. It changes why we do what we do.
It certainly does. And I can't imagine, getting to the end of my days and standing before my Maker and him saying, I had all of these plans for you, and I had such an abundant, victorious life sketched out, and all you had to do was just be intentional about it, just pursue after it. Because I feel like so many in our church body are going to be that at the end. We just so happy with the crumbs when there's a table full of feast. It's just full, overflowing of food and stuff that he wants for us, and we're just not taking advantage of it.
No, and really at the heart of that, we've got to look deeply and see the spiritual warfare that's happening there.
Yes, that's right.
It's really Satan trying to keep us from time with the Father. It's a great little line that I can remember from my childhood. Dependency equals intimacy. And so when I spend time with God and put him right at the front of my day and acknowledge what he knows, that I can't do anything without him, and know that it's my time in the Word, it's my time in his presence, all that God is calling me to be and do and go is really an invitation for me to grow in my relationship with him. And Satan's trying to keep you from that and trying to convince you that God's holding out on you. And it's just not true.
It's just not. You're right. Jason Curry is our guest here on the Steve Marston Show. He is a pastor. He's an author. He's also a corporate speaker. He's somebody that God has used in so many different ways here over the last few years, and it's an honor to have him back here on the program. So let's talk a little bit more about your book, Finish Empty. It's doing so well, and I guess the last time that we talked, I mean, it's even eclipsed even, I think, maybe your wildest dreams on it.
It has, and it really ventured into, anybody who's involved in the business world knows every now and then you get into a new vein or a new market and you go, I didn't even know this world was here. And Finish Empty has opened the door for me to help school systems and educators and superintendents. And I spent most of August traveling the state and traveling the South, speaking to school systems and teachers and back to school events. And so the impact of that, many of those schools buy Finish Empty, use them in their school, use them in their athletic program. And so it's really been a fun time for me because there are some venues that are not always apt to think a pastor is the first choice we want to be in here.
Sure.
And so Finish Empty has been a way for me to walk through doors that are normally not wide open for pastors and go in and invest. And really, you want to help. Like at the end of the day, for the school system to go, oh my gosh, if we implement these leadership principles, we're going to get better. And so that has changed drastically a little bit of the trajectory of Finish Empty and being involved in education. And I've been a student pastor my whole life, so at least most of my adult life. And so it's almost like, Steve, God has been orchestrating things perfectly to put me in the right position to use my gifts for his glory.
Isn't that so? Isn't that just like God when you look back and you see, oh man, all of those other experiences, all of those things, even that I thought were obstacles and hardships, have now led me to where I am now and prepared me so well. It is amazing. Yeah. Jason Curry is here with us for just a couple of more minutes. Let's talk a little bit about about the book in a little more detail. Let's drill down on what do you think of the whole book as a whole. What is the one key you would like people to kind of get from Finish Empty?
Yeah, the distance between I'm glad I did and I wish I had. And you were just talking about this when you stand before God. And so we all know, even though it's not in front of our mind every day, but we all know we get one shot at life. And so many people we know tell the story again and again of, I wish I had. I wish I could go back. I wish I'd have been involved in church more. I wish I'd have been more intentional with my spouse or my kids. And you don't have to live like that.
Yeah.
You could live the story and go back to calendaring, scheduling today what matters most. And if I build a bunch of days like that, days become weeks and weeks months and months years, where I've chased the things that matter most. And I can look back and not say it was about perfection, but at least the direction. I can say, hey, I'm glad I did those things. I didn't squander the opportunity. I redeemed the time. And so it's a different thought process and way to live. Hope is a wonderful thing, Steve, and I love hope. But man, it's not a good strategy for the day.
No.
I want to take intentional, purposeful, redeeming steps towards what matters most. And at the end of my life, if I do that, I think I'll look back and say, boy, I'm glad I did that.
That is so good. I love that, and I love the book. I'm so impressed by it and so thankful for it. Again, it's called Finish Empty. You can find out more about it at finishempty.com. And as we just to get ready to wrap up here, tell everybody where they can get a copy of it. And there's workbooks and stuff available too now, right?
Yeah. Well, the book is a workbook. It's made for people to go through together. It's got questions at the end of every chapter. They go to finishempty.com. If they'll search Finish Empty really online anywhere, they'll find it. And then on the follow on social media, they can search Jason Curry. They'll find my page there. And I'd love to connect with them, love to help in any way I can.
All right. And who's going to win the World Series this year?
The Brewers look pretty good, don't they?
They do. They actually do. What are they, something like 31 or 32 games above 500?
Yeah, the Brewers look pretty good. It'll be, how about this for the cliche? It'll be who's healthy, hitting, and pitching well.
There you go. There you go. Maybe we'll have you down and we'll break down all the MLB playoffs before too much longer.
Let's do it. I'd love it, man.
That'll be a lot of fun. Okay, and if somebody's listening and said, "Man, I really like that guy. I'd love to have him come speak to our group," whether they're in Arkansas or Texas or anywhere else that they're listening, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, if they'll go to finishempty.com or jasoncurry.org. And the Curry is spelled just like Steph Curry. So jasoncurry.org or finishempty.com, and I'd love to connect with them.
Your brother from another mother, right?
That's it.
That's it. All right, Jason, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate you joining us, and we'll talk to you again real soon, okay?
All right. Thanks, Steve.
That's Jason Curry, everybody. Always love talking with him. Always feel better when I get through with a conversation because he always brings such good things to the table and things that will make you think and things that will challenge your heart and so impactful, so thankful for his friendship and what a good fella he really is. Check out all of his websites. Follow him on social. All right, we've got to slide away. Another quick break and more of the Steve Marston Show before you know it.